From there, Amy followed this route of possibility, joining a spiritual sangha, where she spent, I believe, close to 20 years in the spiritual community. From there, she continued this path and created the Inner Strength Foundation, teaching teens who are struggling with effects of trauma, poverty, and urban violence in Philadelphia, teaching them meditation and other skills and perspectives that empower them with the tools to cope with their challenges, and that in order to contextualize those experiences and deal with them in a responsible, intelligent way. And amazingly, she has built up this program from ground zero since 2014, and now has empowered over 15,000 students in the Philadelphia public school system. She has also written several award-winning books. For more information on Amy and her work, just go to her website, AmyEdelstein.com. And you could also go to our website and see an interview we had with Amy, where she speaks more about her life journey. And that is at our own website, www.meditation.net. So we want to thank you, Amy, for being here. Thank you for all your support during the years and all that you do, and all of who you are. Thank you.
It's great to see everyone. Great to be here. I thought usually I speak just a little bit about meditation and practice, but I thought this morning I'd speak a little bit more about the importance of recognizing and valuing our path and the lessons we learned along the way, and also seeing our life circumstances now as presenting us with the perfect conditions to continue to deepen and develop. So when I went to India or Asia first in 1983, I spent 4 years there. I have to add a few years to everything Rick said. I'm older than he thinks. I spent 4 years in Asia practicing. I spent 27 years in a residential meditation community. And now I'm going on my 9th year with my nonprofit, which works in the inner city. Each of the conditions present different opportunities. And the book I just wrote, Adventure in Zanskar, talks about a particular time when I went into the mountains alone and was very adventurous. And what's been interesting to me is people in their 20s, people in their 80s have all been equally inspired during this time. And why would somebody be inspired about a journey that happened so many decades ago in a very far off place that you definitely can't get to now because of COVID, and you might not want to go because it's a little rough and ready. But what's inspiring to people is really the sense that no matter what our external circumstances are, we all have to contend with our own mind and our own relationship to our experience. And when we take seriously our relationship to our mind and our feelings and our actions with other people, and we commit to developing deeper compassion, we commit to purifying the obscurations, we commit to acting on the antidotes to the poisons of greed, selfishness, and anger and negativity of mind. When we really commit to that, every circumstance is an opportunity for spiritual practice. Every circumstance is an opportunity to develop. And when we see our circumstances that way, then life becomes ennobled. We start to see lessons all around us. We start to see examples of higher potential around us. We start to see or take seriously the seeds of the Dharma or the path or the way that have been planted in us. And we nurture those seeds, we let them grow, we let them flower, we cultivate them, we take care of them, we prune them, we water them, we shelter them from the heavy winds and the heavy storms. So in this time of, a resurgence of COVID, and I know many people I know are ill, unfortunately not so seriously ill as before. Um, but people are feeling very downtrodden, frustrated, penned in. I live in a city where the violence is very exacerbated because of the external conditions and because of just a deepening sense of divide in America. I know people on this uh, meditation are from all over the world, but you would really be surprised at what's happening in our cities around us. And I find that quite difficult personally because I live in the middle of it. Um, I live in a historic neighborhood in Philadelphia, which is the neighborhood where the founders of the American Constitution lived and wrote that beautiful Declaration of Independence and envisioned a country that fostered our higher human potentials. They were imperfect, they were products of their time, but I live in exactly their neighborhood, and the violence is all around me. Um, and that's difficult. So I've really been deepening my own relationship to the externals with my own practice, with my own sense that everything's an opportunity to cultivate the foundation of inner wealth, inner richness, inner light, inner awareness, inner discrimination, inner compassion, so that we take our own Himalayan journey or we take our own ashram with us wherever we go. Now, it doesn't mean that we choose to set ourselves in difficult circumstances. Life is going to present those to us. I encourage everyone to support yourself and surround yourself with beauty, safety, good friends, spiritual friends, harmony. It's really important. We're delicate creatures. Humans are delicate creatures. So I don't encourage people to put themselves in difficult situations to learn. We have plenty of lessons around us. But if you find yourself in a circumstance that's hard, if there's illness in your family, among those you love, if the city around you is experiencing difficulty, if the children in your life are really struggling with mental health, it's an opportunity to recognize that we all have more spiritual capital in us, more spiritual wealth than we often draw on. And that can provide us with this inner ashram, with this sense of goodness and a wellspring of infinite possibility, even though the external circumstances are feeling quite harsh right now. So I encourage everyone to recognize that there's nothing else needed and there's nowhere else we need to go. The world needs a lot more light. It needs a lot of repair. It needs a lot of healing. It needs a lot of evolution. It needs a lot of punctuated evolution for our climate, for our social systems, for all of the seen and unseen currents of spiritual goodness. Everything is needing more. And we often feel like we need more, but sometimes the way to replenish our inner stores is to really reflect on the possibility of caring for caring for, of caring for all of the beings and systems and currents around us, challenging ourselves with what the Buddhists call the Bodhisattva vow, which is to wish for the alleviation of suffering of all beings, to dedicate one's life and practice to the end of suffering for all beings and to the ultimate liberation, illumination, and profound awakening of all beings, our Earth's biosphere, every single-celled organism, every creature in the realms that we can see and not see. It's a beautiful metaphor, and when you actually start to practice it, what happens is it's the opposite of burnout. Because when we see suffering around us and we try to give ourselves to that specific suffering, we often feel that we don't have the resources. When we aspire to have the resources to dedicate to the liberation of countless souls, it's so far beyond what we can contain. It's so far beyond what is possible for us to imagine that it cracks open our sense of limitation. And it cracks open that sense of, I don't have enough resources for myself, let alone that my neighbor who, or my family who asked for one more thing just at that moment when I don't really have any capacity, which happens to us. We're human beings. I'm not saying that we should overextend ourselves in our daily lives in that kind of linear way. But when we cultivate the aspiration to care for immeasurable souls, to want the karmic continuum of every life force or current that's come into being since the beginning of time to be harmonious, to be clear, to be forward reaching, to be without unnecessary conflict, it opens up the fabric of our being in a way that really lifts our hearts, lifts our spirits, makes us feel noble, gives us energy, gives us context, gives us perspective, helps us deal with the day-to-day challenges. And I really encourage everyone to challenge yourselves to have much bigger aspirations. Aspirations that are really, they stop the mind because they're so big. And when we cultivate that, it gives us that X factor to feel a little bit more patience in our own lives, to feel a little more patience with cabin fever around COVID, to feel a little more patience with the small-mindedness of our media and the divisiveness of the rhetoric in our social discourse. It's going to give us more discrimination about what to pay attention to and what to ignore and just let go by. And it's going to give us more it's not even discrimination, but curiosity and aspiration to surround ourselves with people who carry the same seeds of compassion and love and freedom and unbounded goodness, that they hold those seeds close to their heart, they protect them, they care for them, they're conscious of them. We choose to surround ourselves and befriend people like that. So we keep nourishing ourselves and keep recognizing that we're not alone. So as we immerse ourselves in the meditation today, what I invite everyone to do is to really rest in your deepest aspiration for yourself and your spiritual life. Really, why are you sitting? Why are you here today? Why do you, many of you come month after month? Why do you come month after month? Not just because it's your community, and when your community does something, you give of yourself, but really, really deeply in that innermost part of your heart, what's calling you? What makes this movement, this pull towards sacredness, one that is irresistible to you? What do you want to do? I think it's Mary Oliver, the great poet, with your one wild and precious life. What is it deeply, deeply in your being that is calling you to put aside the pressures of the world and devote yourself to spiritual exploration? Because when you really, really let yourself meditate from that place, the freedom feels even more sweet, and the stillness feels ever more pregnant with possibility. And the current of connectedness feels ever more rich and warm with that sense of infinite goodness. So let's let ourselves rest in that stillness, accessing, spending some time as you enter into the meditation, really reaffirming your own commitment and motivation, aspiration, and dedication for your own life, not seeing your spiritual life as separate from your regular life, not seeing your spiritual life as separate from the things that frustrate you, but really letting yourself descend through the layers of thought and through the layers of embodiment and through the layers of belief and habit to that place where you experience that which is eternally refreshed, is eternally new, is without blemish, and which holds the imprint of your own life's purpose, your own unique DNA, your own encoding of this perennial path. And when we rest and settle into our own calling, our entire life becomes activated with purpose and love and transformative potential. So, with the sound of the bell, we can begin. Our meditation, and when we come to the close, we'll close with a dedication. As we begin to draw this period of meditation to a close, stay still in the deeper dimensions of self or consciousness or awareness. Begin to allow your attention to move into the surface without losing touch with the depths, so that your exploration of the unlimited and the infinite nature of self or heart can come up into the layers of the discriminating mind. And let's hold the intention to allow our practice to benefit all sentient beings, that any benefit or good karma or merit or insight or privilege that comes from our immersion in practice, let's dedicate that to the benefit of everyone, sharing the discoveries that come to us and allowing those discoveries to become available without discrimination, without prejudice, and without boundaries. May our practice serve to bring balance and harmony throughout the cosmos, to all dimensions. May our practice serve to support and comfort those in our own lives who need healing and succor. And may our practice serve to deepen our own strength and stability, so that we can truly be a light into the world and an example of our most sacred and deeply held virtues.
Thank you, Amy. Beautiful words, beautiful invocation.